We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you when we're not happy with our current experience, there's actually no one else to blame, but we have the power within us to self reflect and change everything? Today, I want to talk to you about whose fault is it when we have a bad experience or when something bad happens. I want you to consider how our thoughts and our mind and what we believe actually shapes our reality and what we're experiencing in our everyday life. The idea of this victim mindset is thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Anytime we're blaming our external environment or the people around us for what we're experiencing, we're actually giving our power away to others. It's like deciding, hey, I'm going to, let you drive my car and I'm actually going to sit in the back seat and yeah, you can drive wherever you want because you're in control of me, right? That's not what we want at all. We want to be in the driver's seat. We want to be controlling the GPS and deciding where we want to go. And so deciding that other people affect how we feel and what we're going through is completely giving that power away. I want to explore with you the relationship between our thoughts, responsibility of our experiences that we're having, and our perception of fault and blame for what's going on around us. Other people or things or the external environment around us, they don't actually make our experience what it is. Our thoughts do. It's what we think about what's happening around us that changes how we experience it. So let's say you're starting a new job and you are absolutely loving it. You're having a great time. You think this is the best job ever. You are thinking that there's so much opportunity and growth available to you. And this feels like the next best step for you. It feels like an amazing new chapter, and you're feeling really good and confident about it. Time passes and things don't go exactly as you thought, or people don't act exactly as you wanted them to, right? Like our expectations are not being met. And now we're not having as good of a time. And we start to think, actually, the job is the problem, or the people I work with are the problem. And this isn't going how I want it to. I want you to consider that it's the thought we're having about that job and about that experience we're having, not the job itself that has changed. The job is the same. The people that hired us and the people that we're working with are actually the same, but our thought has changed based on what happened. They're not any different. The experience, the environment, the organization isn't different. It's the same one we started with. The only thing that's really changed is our view, our perspective. And so that really is where our power lies to be able to decide what do we want to think. And that doesn't mean you have to go think, "Oh, this is the best job ever again." Because you may realize, "Okay, with this new information, I this isn't what I want, and that's okay, but I still have the power to then go find something that is better aligned with what I actually want or does have the opportunity for growth and career path that I want." So, we're going to talk about understanding the power our thoughts can have in our experiences. Our perception of fault and responsibility for what's happening in our life and our external environment, the influence our mindset has on our reality and understanding what's actually true and taking ownership of what's going on in our mind and the actions that we're choosing to take. And then we'll talk about when we take control of ourselves, everything around us seems to change for the better. So let's look at how our thoughts can actually create the experience we're having. Our thoughts actually create the reality that we are living in. They shape our beliefs, our emotions, and then the actions that we choose to go take because of it. We all have all of these beliefs and biases that we've collected over our lifetime based on the experiences that we've had. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking things are true and facts when in reality, those are actually just thoughts that we're having or beliefs that we've learned or picked up over time versus something that we can't actually change. So when we believe something to be true, like this is just a fact, it changes our perception of who's responsible or who's at fault for something not going well. Two people could go and meet the exact same person or have the exact same experience in the exact same place and have completely different experiences based on what they think about it and the lens that they're actually looking at that experience through. Let's say it's an art museum. So let's say two completely different people who don't even know each other go to an art museum, and let's just say the experience is this. They drive there, they find parking. The parking lot is pretty full and person A says, "Oh my gosh, this parking lot is full. That means this event is going to be amazing. This is going to be so good because so many people are here." And they go park down the street and walk also thinking, okay, great. Now I even have some steps. My blood's going to be flowing. I'm going to enjoy this even more. Person B gets to the parking lot, sees how full it is, gets frustrated, gets angry. Now they're revving up. They're in a bad space. They have to park down the street as well. And they're even frustrated. They show up, they feel sweaty, it's hot out, and they're like, this is horrible. Why is this happening to me? Now we get to the registration desk, and the person at the desk is a little bit less than friendly. They're not that warm. They're not very open or bubbly or helpful. Person A says, "Oh man, this person must be going through something really difficult. I hope things get better for them." Now they're feeling compassionate and open hearted and loving. They're sending love to this person, and now they're feeling love within themselves. Person B thinks, "Oh my gosh, this person is so rude. They're so terrible. They're out to get me," right? Going back to that victim mindset. They're against me. This is horrible. Couldn't find parking. Now I had to walk in the heat, and now the front desk person was rude. What a horrible day. Now we walk into the art exhibit, and there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of noise. It's buzzy, it's exciting. Maybe there's music going, and person A revels in the energy and they're having fun and they're excited and they think, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I might even get to meet a new friend or a new prospect for my business or a new potential networking connection. This is amazing." Person B thinks, "What a crowded place. This is terrible. I hate everybody. Everybody hates me. This sucks. This is horrible." So you can see the pattern, right? Like every single step of the way, and then it builds on top of each other. So person A is experiencing all of these positive things and just building up their own positive experience, even though the two people, completely unrelated, don't even know each other, are going through the same exact steps. They're having completely different experiences. The environment isn't changing, the circumstance isn't changing, it's not different, but their thoughts that they're having about it are what transform the life that they get to live. And we actually get to choose our perception of what's happening and what we're experiencing. And when we decide to think thoughts about something being somebody else's fault or someone else needing to take responsibility for what we're experiencing, again, we're giving our power away and we're just feeling weak, defeated, helpless, like we don't have a choice. And that is a horrible space to be in and to feel. And it can be really easy to blame external factors or people outside of us for what's going on within us. I can tell you for a fact, I have done this many times in my life, and it's something I've worked very hard on because it is easy. It's easy to feel like that is happening to you. You're a victim. Everyone else is at fault. Everyone else should be better, do better, right? Especially those of us who struggle with perfectionistic tendencies and mindsets. We have really high expectations of ourselves. And that translates into our expectations for others. And we think everything else and everyone else outside of us should just be perfect, know everything, and do everything exactly the way we want them to do it. But we have the choice to decide not to be a victim and to shift out of that mindset and into something much more empowered by acknowledging our own role in shaping our reality. Our experience stems directly from our own mind. And when we look at person B, who's having this completely negative experience and blaming everybody else and taking zero responsibility, giving all their power away, this kind of behavior can affect our relationship with others. It can affect our friendships. We can end up pushing people away. I've talked about this in the loneliness episode of how I experienced that in the past. It can affect our decision making. So we're no longer coming from a clear, creative space and making logical, good, happy, meaningful decisions. We're going back kind of to that survival place. Our logical part of the brain is actually shutting off. We're living from an animalistic and survival brain. So, how do we know what's true anyway? How we choose to think about the world impacts our interpretation of the events and experiences that are happening. Every single thing that we experience, we are making it mean something and we're telling a story about it. This is just how the human brain works. We tell stories to make sense of the data in front of us. So when you experience something that you maybe don't like or is a little bit uncomfortable, I want you to ask yourself some questions. What really is true? Like what is actually true? And is the thing that I'm thinking about my experience that I think is a fact, is that actually a thought? So really start to uncover what's actually true and then start to think about what you want to be true. What do you want this to be? What do you want the experience to be? And what are some new thoughts or perceptions that you can decide to have? What's a new lens that you can look through in order to create this into the experience that you want it to be? Our outcomes are not predetermined. That's where this kind of fixed mindset comes in place, where we think everything is just as it is, and what we're thinking about it is just fact, which isn't necessarily true unless we want it to be, or unless we decide that it is for ourselves. So just knowing that that's a choice. It's a choice to think that it is just what it is and it sucks and I have to deal with it. That's a choice. That's not a fact. Whereas looking at everything in life as opportunities for learning, for growing, that's where our growth mindset comes in. And we can always think about, how can I evolve? So that's another question you can start asking yourself in any situation is, what am I learning from this? And how can I grow? How can I evolve from this experience? And the good news is we have the ability to take ownership of our own thoughts and actions. This is a fundamental step that we cannot miss toward our own personal growth and transformation. If we want to see change, we have to get back in that driver's seat. It's the only way. Because when we own our own results, that's when we get to change them and make it what we want it to be. One of the best practices that I have found in really putting this into play and putting this into action and making this real is reframing our own thoughts and beliefs to create the new resilient, self compassionate, and empowering thoughts. I'll give you an example of one that I personally have struggled with. And that's the thought that we could, apply this to different experiences, but generally the thought has been something bad is going to happen. And we might think that that's a fact because it's happened many times in our childhood or in our, early adult years or in our life somewhere in our story. A lot of bad things have happened. People have done bad things to us, and we can think, yeah, that's just how it's always been, and bad things will happen, and people just do bad things to you. That's not actually a fact. That is a thought that we are having because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And we don't have a way to tell what's going to happen by the people in our life, in our career, in our professional life, in our work. We don't know the future. We can plan and we can be intentional and all of that, but we don't actually know exactly how things outside of us are going to pan out. So, how I've reframed this thought is recognizing and instilling the thought that I've learned enough to discern what's safe and what isn't. So, maybe as a kid or as a teenager or as a young adult, certain things happened and I didn't know better. And that's okay. I can look back and, in a sense, parent my younger self and say, hey, it's okay. You didn't know any better. I now know what to do if something bad happens or if you're truly in danger, and I'm going to take care of us. There's a great analogy I worked with one of my therapists on around my inner guard dog. And we talked about it as I have this beautifully well trained, highly efficient German Shepherd guard dog within me. And while that guard dog wants to look for danger around every corner, I can say, hey, good job. Thank you for looking out for me. We got this. Let's examine this. Is this really dangerous? Is this really true? Right? Because sometimes we go in and we think immediately that it feels very real, but that's where slowing down becomes really important as well, because that gives us the time to reflect and recognize, okay, that was just the mailman. We don't need to bark at him. Or, he was just delivering our mail. He was doing a good thing for us. Or that was just a stranger walking down the street and we're okay. We're safe. We're here right now. What is true? I'm a woman walking down the street. I'm completely and totally okay. And if we're not sure what those thoughts are that we need to reframe, or there's just so much going on up there, you don't even know where to begin, we can start journaling out all of our thoughts, really empty the brain, get it all on paper. It goes back to all those thoughts spinning in our brain and wasting time on that. We can get it onto paper, get it out of our mind. Let us really look at it from an outside perspective and start to pick out some of the ones that you want to reframe. And you might just start with one at a time and decide the new thoughts or beliefs or perspectives that you want to practice having about what's going on around you or what's going on within you. As we start to work on this and work on our own perception and mindset and stop blaming others, stop finding fault outside of us, and instead take the power within us, our whole world begins to change because the world itself isn't changing, but we are changing how we look at it. There can be a ripple effect through your own thought patterns that show up in your relationships, your communities, or in your professional life. Other people are affected by us, whether we think they are or not. I tell my teams this all the time. You have influence, you matter. Your behaviors around your teams matter, whether you see it or not. Other people are always affected by us. And when we make these massive shifts within us, it can be delightfully surprising how our environment seems to change as well. And people are influenced by that. And remember, we can't change other people. We don't get to decide what they're going to do or say, we don't get to control them. But what's happening is the power of influence and inspiration can inspire them to change. We are only changing ourselves. We are focusing on what we can control. We're doing our part, showing up, inspiring through our own actions, leading by example, and then we surrender to the outcome. And some people will be inspired to improve and change and also make positive shifts in their life, and some won't. And that's okay. We're not attached to the outcome. What we're focusing on is what we can do, what we can control, how we want to look at the world and how we want to see it so that our experience is changing. So take some time to listen to what's going on in your mind. Reflect on the experiences that you're having and how that's being affected by how you're actually looking at the experience itself. You have the power to make positive change and completely turn your life around. We talked about the power our thoughts can have on our experiences in life, our perception of who's at fault or who needs to take responsibility for the bad things happening, the influence that our mindset has on what's actually true and the reality we think we're experiencing, taking ownership of our thoughts and the actions we choose to take, and how these shifts we're making within ourselves have a ripple effect into everything around us and everyone around us. So let's choose to take ownership of our thoughts, of our perceptions, and let's create a mindset and build that mindset muscle in our own brains that empowers our own growth, resilience, and responsibility for where we drive our car. The ability to live the life you want to live has been within you all along. Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world. And as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.